One of the biggest eHEX whales just sold over 300 million eHEX. Not after a bull market, not after a 10x, not after a new all-time high. He sold after eHEX collapsed more than 99.9%. And that immediately raised a question. Did this whale just make the smartest move of his life? Or one of the biggest mistakes? Because while most people are focused on the sale itself, there are several reasons why this story may be much bigger than it first appears, including a growing parity discussion, a recent Richard Heart eHEX mystery, and a potential upside that almost sounds unbelievable. Let's take a look. These are the transactions. Over 300 million eHEX sold. One of the largest eHEX positions in the ecosystem. Gone. And this wasn't some random trader. This was an OG, someone who has been around for years. Someone who watched HEX rise to over 50 cents. And someone who watched it collapse over 99.9%. Imagine holding through all of that, year after year, only to finally decide to sell now. At first glance, most people would call that bearish. A whale sells. Price goes down. End of story. But what if the story isn't over? To understand why, we need to understand what happened to eHEX, because newer investors may not know the full history. At its peak, HEX traded at roughly 51 cents. Then Pulse Chain launched. Liquidity moved. Attention moved. Users moved, capital moved, and over time, eHEX became one of the most abandoned assets in crypto. Today, eHEX sits approximately 99.9% below its all-time high. 99.9%. Think about that. Most investors won't touch an asset after a 90% drawdown. eHEX is down even more. Which creates a fascinating question. What if the market is wrong? Because if eHEX somehow returned to its previous all-time high, the upside from current levels would be over 1,300x. 1,300x. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm simply talking about the math. And here's where things start becoming difficult to comprehend. Imagine putting just $500 into eHEX today. You get over 1.1 million eHEX, which are over $500,000 at all-time high prices. That is an enormous amount of HEX for cheap dollars. The exact same asset, the exact same ticker. It is priced at only a tiny fraction of what investors once paid. Now keep that in mind. Because the next part is where things start getting really interesting. Recently, a post started circulating that appears to show Richard Heart distributing approximately 6 million eHEX across millions of Ethereum addresses. Now, before anyone gets carried away, this is not proof of anything. And nobody outside Richard knows the exact reason. But it raises an interesting question. If eHEX is completely irrelevant, why interact with it at all? Why move it? Why distribute it? Why put attention on it? Again, nobody knows the answer. But it has sparked speculation that eHEX may still have a role to play in the future. And if that's true, the market may be pricing eHEX completely wrong. Now let's talk about something even bigger. Parity. Because I believe this is one of the most overlooked discussions in the entire ecosystem. Today we have eHEX and we have pHEX. Two assets, two prices, two charts, two versions of the same brand. For longtime users, that's normal. But imagine Pulse Chain onboarding millions of new users. How do you explain two HEX assets with different prices? For mainstream adoption, that's confusing. Very confusing. And that's why some people believe parity eventually becomes important. Not because it's guaranteed, but because simplicity matters. One hex, one price, one message. Easy to understand, easy to explain, easy to market. And this is where we come back to the whale, because there's one more detail. Even after selling over 300 million eHEX, the whale still owns roughly 900 million pHEX. Now maybe he keeps it, maybe he sells it, nobody knows. But if those coins ever hit the market, the relationship between eHEX and pHEX could change dramatically. Could parity happen? Maybe. Could eHEX temporarily outperform pHEX? Also possible. Nobody knows exactly how this story ends, but one thing is certain: the story is far from over. So let's recap. One of the biggest eHEX whales just sold over 300 million eHEX after a 99.9% crash. eHEX sits more than 99.9% below its all-time high. A return to previous highs would mean over 1,300x from current levels. Richard Hart activity has sparked fresh speculation around eHEX. Parity discussions continue growing, and one of the largest whales still holds roughly 900 million pHEX. Does any of this guarantee success? Of course not. But after a 99.9% collapse, I think the more interesting question is no longer, why is eHEX down? The more interesting question is, what happens if the market is wrong? Love HEX or hate HEX? Agree with Richard Hart or disagree with him? The next chapter of this story is about to begin. And after watching one of the biggest eHEX whales finally give up, I can't help but wonder, did he sell the bottom? Or will this become one of the most painful exits in HEX history? If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel and leave a like. And let me know in the comments, was this whale smart? Or will he regret selling? One final update before we end this video. After recording this, the whale made another move. He actually staked his pHEX for one day. Now I don't know what that means. Maybe it's nothing. But it's definitely interesting. Because people who completely lose conviction usually don't lock up coins for the future. Or maybe just mind games. So while many people saw the 300 million eHEX sale as a clear bearish signal, the story may not be as simple as it first appeared. We'll have to wait and see what happens next.
This is the opportunity of a lifetime. Yes, every scammer in the world is going to tell you something similar, but in this case, you are actually going to have regret.
I mean, you're scamming everyone.
Richard Hart, he's got a history of being called the spam master.
There's some weird things going on with his coins.
Making one of the biggest Ponzi schemes that we have ever seen.
HEX coin is 1000% a scam coin.
People are going to lose money because of you.
Remember all the haters? All the haters that told you that I was a scammer and HEX was a scam? I got bad news for the haters. We're making new all-time highs where everything else is getting wrecked. Price is up 4,000 or 5,000 fold in 600 days.
I've made enough money in the last week that I could buy a house in cash.
I would never have to work another day in my life.
I'm here to shill. I want to change the world, and I can only do that if people participate. The only thing that matters in this world is goods and services. Everything else is accounting. And our made-up imaginary internet money is better than the government's made-up imaginary internet money. Both of them are only backed by the shared fiction of the humans believing that they have value.
If HEX is a religion, then Richard is God.
I'm in crypto for glory. I want to have the best cryptocurrency that's ever existed. I want to have the best performing asset that's ever existed.
And so I think of blockchain as like the internet. in the 90s, everyone thought the internet was just for email.
I bought some this morning.
They're imaginary quarters. Like, it's like playing Monopoly.
I put it all in. I went.
Like, all what?
All of our house money.
This is a force that is not going to go away. The cryptocurrency is not going away. And at some point, the people that you met that you thought were crazy loon birds, they're going to be in the 1%, and they're going to be the people that own half everything.